Hello, everyone. I'm Ishan, and welcome to the Race Monkey. The last few days, I've been traveling like an absolute pigeon. I've been driving quite a lot of cars through the month of January, and we are on the first day of February. It's Monday today. It's 2nd of Feb. A lot of my friends from the auto industry drove the BMW X3 in Mumbai during its launch event through an X Drive trail, which they thoroughly have enjoyed, and I could see it from their content. But yeah, I missed out all of that action, and there's quite a lot of FOMO that I'm suffering from as a daily boy. But I've got friends in BMW India, and they sent me this car at my place. So I'm going to spend the entire day driving through the routine that I usually have and talking to you about how the X330i, which is the configuration that I was really hoping to get in the X3, feels like to drive in the city and perhaps a little bit on the highway. Let's get on with it. So we have just left our home, and first things first, the impression that the X3 makes is with its right quality. If you are really crying out loud about the latest Da Vinci suspension by Mahindra, BMW has done Da Vinci Pro Max because the suspension is just so good. It just soaks in the bumps at slower speeds really very well. Now, another thing which greets you as a driver are these paddle shifters at the back, which are really high quality. You've got thick steering wheel, which you can use very easily with your nice Napa leather driving gloves. And with these gloves, you can also control the iDrive infotainment screen quite easily, and you don't really have to press another time because it's just so easy to use even with gloves on. Now you have each and every function integrated into this iDrive system, but it does feel a little cumbersome to use in the first go. But once you get used to it, this is one of the easiest infotainment touchscreen systems to control a lot of critical functions very, very easily. Now you have the iDrive control over here with a rotary knob, which is quintessentially BMW. If BMW gets rid of this, it'll be a real big problem, but BMW won't do that in any near future. You've got proper knurled finish metallic rotors for the volume controller. You've got this nice flick switch for the gearbox selector. Now the overall drive feel of the X3 has always been great. This particular version also felt really nice, but what was lacking a little bit was in the engine output. The X3 originally in this avatar was launched with the 20 version, which had the same 2-liter B48 petrol engine but with a lower power variation. This one gets 258 bhp of max power and 400 newton meters of max torque in the same B48. It's the return of the original specification, and I'm really happy about it. But that's more than what meets the eye. Besides being powerful enough, it's also very efficient. So let's drive through and see how efficient is the X330 really. Now, if you are planning to buy the X330, you would not be disappointed by the mechanical setup. This B48 motor is just so creamy, especially when you're driving within the city. It's quiet. The suspension setup on this M Sport platform is really, really good, and it feels like a much tighter car to drive, even at slower speeds. So it's a win-win situation over here. Now, since we're stuck in traffic, there aren't many things to complain about. The screen size and height is absolutely correct. Uh, the visibility to the instruments display is also pretty good. It has been designed in a way that it makes you feel less claustrophobic, although the arrow design for the instruments is something that not everyone likes, but it just works in the modern day time. You've got good amount of visibility at the front. There is a heads-up display which is showing all the data in real time in the front as well. And yeah, the overall sense of feel whilst you're stuck in traffic is pretty good. You do appreciate the minimalism of the X3 whilst you're stuck in traffic, because you look at the details, you look at these little cuts and creases that BMW has thrown around everywhere. It's not a mundane design. It's not something that would bore you over a period of time, and it would go well over the period of time as well. It'll age really nicely. Now, in the X320, you had this fabric oriented dashboard which covered the entire dash area, and during dusty summer days, it does tend to get really, really dirty, and that was one of the feedbacks that I had. Now, BMW has moved to a fall leather, vegan leather thing, and yeah, it now looks much, much better, except for a few elements that we'll talk about at the end of the video. So we have completed about 38 kilometers within the city, and here's the situation update. In the last 38 kilometers and driving through the city limits for about 1.5 hours, we achieved a fuel economy figure of 10.8 kilometers to the liter. And by the way, this now has the 258 bhp tune, and it is quite quick. And for that, 10.8 kilometers to the liter is absolutely acceptable. Something which I would not complain about, because I was literally crawling through the Monday traffic. Now I'm trying to make sure that I become a little efficient on the highway. Let's see how it goes. After literally crawling through the city streets, I'm finally on the highway, and this is where the B48 shines the most. Out on the highway, the X330 feels very much at home. This B48 motor is really very good when it comes to the outright performance. Now, 258 bhp might not sound a whole lot, but with this very crisp 8-speed gearbox, driving on the highway is a breeze. You barely feel the shifts, and the car takes on the momentum quite easily. Now, we're currently driving at 90 kilometers an hour on the highway, and it's just so smooth. Even with thinner profile tires that we have shorted to these M Sport rims, the ride quality is so sublime. In fact, I feel these days BMW does better ride quality than Mercedes, which was not the case about a decade and a half ago. And it just makes you smile every time you're doing long distance trips. Something that I could never say about a BMW about a decade ago again. Now, the way the X3 handles too the sharper corners at high speeds is also very confidence inspiring. This is something that would always put a smile on your face whilst you're doing your proper enthusiastic driving. And it's never going to let you lose off the traction if you know how to handle rear wheel drive cars. Now, this is an all wheel drive car with X drive, but it is slightly rear biased for you to get the perfect balance even with the ESP off. This car would take all those corners with absolute beauty. And I really truly appreciate that about the X3. Now, the driving position too is something to write home about. The steering is not offset, the pedals for your accelerator and brakes are not offset, so you have a perfect driving position. These seats have a really good amount of bolstering. Whilst you're cornering, if you want more grip from your seats, you can just click on the button on the seat menus option, and it'll contract the bolstering for your back and give you more grip whilst you're driving fast. The steering is nice and chunky. It gives you quite a lot of grip, and even when you're wearing gloves, you have this nice tactile feeling of working around this steering wheel. Now, we do have capacitive touch buttons on the steering with a few physical buttons, but once you get used to using them around, they're very, very easy to live with and pretty precise in what they function around with. Now, beside all the button gadgetry, you've got these two paddle shifters with the negative gear paddle shifter having a boost function which you can use for about 10 seconds and get the maximum amount of power from this mild hybrid system. Now we are going to perform the launch sequence from 0 to 120 kmph to 0 kmph. Now we're doing that because the highest permissible speed on the Indian expressways is 120 kmph. So we switch to sport mode. The DSC is off. We're in sport mode right now. Hard foot on the brakes, hard foot on the accelerator. We have enough boost. Launch sequence on the X330i is pretty aggressive and it shows up whilst it's doing 120 and we brake. This would be quicker than what we achieved with the 330 Li with the same B48 motor. It's just so aggressive, so precise with this X-Drive all-wheel drive system. It just goes even quicker. Very, very impressive indeed. So let's start talking about the details of the X330, starting off with the exteriors. We've got the key over here, which feels a little plasticky, but you've got your lock button on the BMW logo, your boot release, and your function button over here, which can be configured as per your liking. Now, in the front, this M Sport version of the X3 looks really very nice. You've got a menacing front grille, which has a huge gap at the bottom, and the top half is blacked out plastic, and from afar you can't even tell if it's a whole grill which opened up or just the bottom half. You've got a nice air dam on the bottom, and you've got a splitter over here as well, which looks really very menacing. You also have these air vents which are actually functional and not just aesthetic. These two slats on the headlamps which look really very nice. I think the X3's headlamp design is one of the most beautiful in the current BMW lineup. You also have illuminated grille and these really nice muscle lines over here which harks to the XM and the previous generation of the 1980s BMW cars. Now, from the front quarters, the X3 looks really nice. I love the angles of this car, the way everything is sharply chiseled, the muscular wheel well, these large 20-inch alloy wheels which are shorted to 255/45 R20 tires from Continental, and there are 285/45 R20 tires at the rear. Now, from the side profile to the X3 looks quintessentially BMW with a long bonnet and a nice suave cabin area, which is really truly good. Now, a lot of people complain about pull-out door handles. Look at this. BMW's got pull-out door handles and they work really very well. You've got this strong feeling of this heavy-duty door handles, which I really truly love. You've got a nice cut and very precisely engineered shut line over here. You've got a large door at the back, which has always been a statement of X3s, and they open out quite a bit, giving you a good amount of ingress and egress, especially for elderly passengers and kids. There's going to be a good amount of space. We'll get to the insides in a while. Now, these are staggered set of tires with 255s in the front and 285s at the back on R20 alloy wheels, and these M Sport alloy wheels look really nice with the M caliper on the inside, as you can see. Now, once we come to the back, this 3/4 of the X330. Tell me one SUV in this category which looks as beautiful and as sporty as this one. Yes, I'm missing out on exposed exhaust pipes, but oh god, it looks so nice. Really truly a statement in itself. Whilst it's driving on the road, you really turn around and look at it again. From every angle, the X3 is beautiful. Now, since we're at the back, this is a pretty good size boot at 570 liters when the second row seats are up with undershelf, which boasts your space saver tire and a good amount of space to keep your things and toolkits. And this is a 40-20-40 split seat, which you can fold down as per your request. And once you fold down all the seats at the back, you get 1700 liters of boot space, which is the largest in this segment. You also have a lamp over here, which is pretty bright at night. And the load lip is also not too high. So whilst picking and putting things into the boot is not going to be a very heavy exercise. You also have extensions on this side to keep your things, and you can also have your vacuum cleaners placed over here with a 12-volt socket. So let's get to the business end of things, where you would be spending most of the time once you've bought yourself the X330 is the front cabin. Now, once you open up the door, you're greeted by this very modern and very flamboyant looking cabin, which is also really very ergonomic. So getting into the car in the front seat is really very easy. And once you step inside, you're greeted by this nice and chunky steering wheel, which reminds me of the i5 M60 that I took a year ago to the mountains. And I really truly enjoyed how grippy the steering wheel design is. Everything over here is really nice. You got a physical button to move your speed up and down for your cruise control, your mode control switch over here, your selector for cruise control or adaptive cruise control over here. You can set the speed from here. You've got your audio controls over here and your menu control over here. You also have paddle shifters, which have a 10-second boost function whilst you're doing launch control. Now you also have this modern age BMW instruments cluster, which can be changed for its layout, believe it or not, which I really like. You also can have this layout or a meter on the center for better visibility, or just this. I prefer this one because I have all my information centered out over here. Now, you're greeted by this center staged curved display, which houses the latest generation of the iDrive system, which has all your critical controls embedded into this touchscreen system. Now you have these large icons, which can also be used wearing a glove, which I have kept in this large glove box, which has felt lining on the inside. But that thing aside, your critical controls like air conditioning is also embedded into this. So once you get used to it in about a day or two, this is a very very easy system to use. You got this jewelry box console, which houses two cup holders, which can accommodate about 1.25 liters of bottles, and it has two spots for large mobile phones, one of which can wirelessly charge your phone as well, two type C ports, and this physical controller for iDrive as well, which has this very beautiful looking crystal rotor over here with nice knurled finish on the side with metal. You also have this knurled finished volume rocker and this entire glass embedded system for your iDrive controller. Your gear selector is over here, which is now quintessentially BMW. And otherwise, the entire cabin up front looks really very nice. You have these beautiful ambient lights that are running through this jewelry box design, and you've got multiple colors to choose from. And you can also set your mood with respect to the mode that you have selected. You also can adjust the air conditioning vents from this rubber adjuster over here, which might look a little flimsy to use, but once you get used to it, it's really good, and it helps you retain the cleanliness of the air vents as well. Your steering adjustment is physical, so you have rake and reach, which makes you easy on the seating position as well. And these seats are nice and soft with electronically adjustable bolsters over here and an adjustable under thigh support as well. You also have your air conditioning vents over here, which are stuck to the dashboard and not embedded into the door cards. And you can adjust the intensity of the airflow from here with your lock button being over here. Now, this is a typical BMW affair for buttons over here, which is shared with the mini cars too. But I'm a little skeptical about the quality of plastics that have been used, although the window switches are really good and you've got auto up down for all the windows. Nice and soft armrest on the door card, which is really really soft. And otherwise, the overall sense of quality over here is really really nice, and something that you would like whilst you're doing long distance trips in this car. And the X330 is a car to do long distance trips in because it's really very efficient, as we have seen. What happens when we do the range test and we really push the limits of fuel economy with this car? Because the B48 is a really efficient engine. Now here in the back seat of the X330, things are pretty good in terms of the space situation. Now you get this brown leather seats all across the car, which is vegan leather. Just by the way, this is not Napa leather. And the seat cushioning is pretty good. Now I'm 5 feet 8 inches tall. This driver's seat has been adjusted as per my driving position, and I've got great amount of knee room. I can also fold my legs and sit very comfortably. I've got great amount of headroom as well, which makes life of even about 6.5 footers very easy. This car is not going to be very cumbersome for tall people, but my only gripe is that the seat back angle is a bit too upright. Can we recline it any further? No. You also have the central armrests with 2 cup holders, and the central cushion for your elbows is pretty soft. Now, besides that, you've got this BYOD port where you can plug in your optional screen systems at the back, 2 Type-C chargers, and your tri-zone climate control system, which can be adjusted for temperature as well as fan speeds. Now, what I'm not really a big fan of are these air vents, which are controlled by these rubberized motors, and it's just something which could be a little cumbersome for people to use over the period of time, but it doesn't really bother me much. Now, the under thigh support too is slightly compromised, although I'm not sitting knees up and there is a good amount of footroom to play around with. But this could have been slightly better, and the cushioning for your bottom too could have been slightly better, although your lower back support and your bolster support with your shoulder room is pretty good. You've got a nice cushy armrest on the door card. You also have these sunshades to cut off the sun from the outside, and your handles over here are greeted with this touch sensitive light over here, which can be used for reading. 2 map pockets and this massive panoramic sunroof, which is a single glass pane and cannot be opened up. So there's a good amount of light that liberates in once you keep the shutters open. So the BMW X330 is exactly what I thought it to be. A nice, enthusiastic, spacious enough, and very frugal luxury SUV, which can be very good to drive in the city and even great to drive on the highway. We got a fuel economy of about 18.5 kilometers to the liter in the real world. The suspension is brilliant. The way it is cocooned on the inside, something to talk about. And at 74.5 lakh rupees ex showroom, it's something you can consider to buy.